Hello guys, how are we doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today is my final hardpoint guide where I give you guys the key to winning every single Rio hardpoint you jump into. Obviously that's not going to happen, I can't guarantee that before you guys come at me, but this video is just going to give you guys ideas of setups you can have if you're in your sweaty 4-man, or even if you're a solo queuer, you can play one of these godlike positions just to guarantee a good old 60-second hold of the hill. So kicking it off with Rio P1 is obviously in the middle of the map. Before we get into it, just to give you guys a little bit of a perspective on where other things are on the map, because I know looking from it top down is a little bit confusing sometimes, but you have the bridge at the very top of the map here. The bottom where my cursor is currently is P2 with the little cop car and then the hot dog stand. Garage is down to the bottom left, and then you sort of get the gist of where everything else is after that. So let's take the perspective of the left hand, the spawners who spawn towards P3, which is down here. Let's say you manage to get 4 down and you push all the way up. So realistically, in a real world situation, when you hop onto this and you get this setup, any kills you get after being on this setup will end up spawning them out. So we're going to assume here that they've already spawned here and they're running from the spawn. So because realistically, if you get kills from this position, you're just going to flip them, which is probably the likely what's probably what you want to happen at the end of the day. But first things first, we have player number 2 who's on the bridge and watching the cut. Obviously, you want to have an A out or a sub. It doesn't really matter. This is a relatively close range engagement. But you're sat on this bridge here, and you're pretty much just waiting for anyone to come down this left-hand side of the map here. You're playing this cut just here. Next, we have player number 1, who's at the top of the escalators, and from here they are watching these 2 main entrances. Really, this position up here offers height. You can get on a nice head glitch on some of the railings on this escalator bit just here, and you've got a nice little spot to watch anyone running through these 2 doors. Next, we have a player in a similar sort of position. You can actually jump onto the left or the P1 side of the vending machines. There's a little I don't know what you want to call it, like a post you can hop onto, and it gives you a nice little mean head glitch facing this way over the vending machine. So this is a nice way to watch this sort of stairs up to P1. And then last but not least, we have player number 3, who has got this whole right hand side covered. Realistically, this is going to be the guy that flips the spawns, because P2 is literally just here. So this player is playing for both players who are coming off the blue team for the rotation to P2, and also covering this right hand door so number 4 doesn't get pinched from this right hand side. But obviously, if that's happening, you're going to flip. Chances are if you push up that high, you're going to flip. It's going to happen. So let's take the position as if you're spawning the blue team the other side of the map. Let's say you've just done that and they're spawned on the flip side. So number 3 doesn't really have to move too much. You can just sit on this little wall here and see the whole of this left-hand side of the map. They're going to be getting information on if anyone's decided to push through P2, and you've also got the left-hand flank, so they're doing a nice little roll here. Next, we have player number 4, who's on the other side of the vending machine now, watching the escalators. There's a heady, you can snake it, you can do what you want. I get that number 7 can get on a mean snake stair glitch here, but as long as your number 4 plays their life, get some damage out, snakes, and do what they can, it's not going to be too much of an issue. Then you have number 1, who sort of needs to play off of number 4 slightly. They can have a sub, they're sat on the hill. They're going to be getting the hill time as well as number 4 here, because it does extend a little bit wider than what I've got at the boxes. It's probably a little bit closer to that. And they're watching just this close stair cut, but they can also offer help to escalator if they need to. And then last but not least, you have player number 2, who is watching this whole bridge side of the map here, so that a player on the blue team can't decide to leak all the way around like so and get under. They can't do that because player number 2 is here. But from this angle, and you can also do that from this other corner just here, you can actually see, if you look into the double doors at the top of the bridge, you can see all the way through to P2 to this side vending. So it's a nice little off angle to help out if needs be, which is why I've got it here. It doesn't really help from this position, but it's just something you guys are going to want to know. Then when P2 pops, which is obviously by this hot dog stand, there's a little bit more action that takes place here. So there's a couple of more new little bits of diagram you've seen here. There's circles, and then there's circles around players. So we're going to get into that shortly. In this setup, as a red team, where they are, as they are, players on the blue team are going to spawn all the way back here. There is a little bit of a closer spawn here, but because we've got number 1, which is why they've got this blue ring around them, and number 2, again, with the blue ring around them, push this far forward, it actually moves this back spawn all the way back here, which obviously offers more time and a longer route for the blue team to get to the hill. So as well as blocking the close spawn, number 1 is watching their push through mid. So if anyone decides to take a cheeky flank through P1, number 1's got that down to a T. They ideally want to be using a sub because it's a relatively close range engagement up here, and they can be a little bit more maneuverable if they want to. Next, you have the second person blocking this close spawn in boxes, Player number 2, they're sat on the RV, the Jeep, whatever you want to call it, with an AR, and they're basically watching the push through garage and just the general front side. They can also see if anyone decides to push through boxes. So this number 2 is probably in charge of also watching it to see if number 6 leaks through here as well. You then have player number 3, who is getting the hill time, as well as being on the hot dog stand. They can be on the police car, they can be on the wall, whatever they want to be. But this person's job is essentially to help out front and get hill time. Again, want to be with an AR. And then you're probably wondering what this fella's doing back here, number 4. Realistically, they probably shouldn't take on gunfights. This is a very traditional map. On COD, it's a very tight 3-lane map, so this often happens on a lot of hills. So player number 4 doesn't have to watch anything. 3, 2, and 1 combined have got middle map and the right-hand side covered. But in case anyone decides to take a really long flank all the way around, number 4 is going to have that covered unless they get pinched from the right here. But that, realistically, no player spawning here is going to go all the way through bridge and do that. But the main role for number 4 being here is to block the spawns. Obviously, if this number 4 player decided to push all the way up with number 2, number 3, and even further up to the white van, it may open up the spawn for blue team to spawn behind them. So number 4, sole job, if I'm being completely honest, is to block the spawn. As soon as they get a little bit overzealous and challenge a little bit further out, blue team has the opportunity to spawn behind them, which is obviously not what you want to do until the very last bit of the hill. So a bit of a change here. Moving on to P3, we're taking the perspective of the blue team. We're assuming they keep the control of this side of the map, so this is probably sort of how it's going to go. So with the blue team in these particular positions, the red team are going to spawn in this green ring just here, so just the other side of P1. So obviously it's a bit of a further route to the hill than it would be if you were spawning close, which is why this side is preferable to hold. So starting off where my cursor is at the bottom here, you have player number 8 with an AR, with the sub, whatever you want to be using here, holding up for this right cut. In this position, they're not going to be checking it. There's a nice little laydown spot you can have next to a bin or a trash can if you're from the US. And essentially it's just stopping anyone deciding to flank around the left to get to the spawns or to get through boxes. We're going to flip to the other side here. Player number 7, there's they can obtain this position here where they can sit on this RV just here and look forward. But realistically, it's their job, wherever they decide to do it, as long as they don't push too far up, to make sure that nobody on the red team can leak through this bridge side of the hill or get into these side windows. Because essentially, if that happens, number 6 is going to die to being shot in the back. So, talking number 6, we have this is the person getting on the hill. So this obviously this hill time does extend a little bit outwards, but it's a bit confusing doing that because it obviously doesn't go to all the top of the eskers. But number 6 is on hill here, pretty much watching the stairs. If an enemy decides to run through P1 and get the stairs, number 6 is getting the hill as well as watching that stairs. So they have sort of 2 jobs here, and ideally they want to have a submachine gun in their hands. Then finally we have player number 5, who is doing 2 things. First of all, you can notice that light blue ring around their figure, around the arrow, and in being in this position, they're blocking this black blue spawn so that the red team do not have the ability to flip because number 5 is here. But they've also got a nice little line of sight through these open doors to the top eskies. So number 6 on hill does not have to worry about a push down eskies because number 5 has got their back. If number 4 decides to run down here, number 5 should have an AR and should win that gunfight 9 times out of 10. Now moving on to P4, you sort of want to maintain these spawns. So you can see that this spawn doesn't really change, whereas this one's moved all the way further back here. So again, we're taking the perspective of the blue team here. First things first, you want a couple people on or around the hill just watching the front, because realistically the red team, if they're going to spawn here, they're either going to run the chances are they're going to run directly to the hill. So that's why you have a couple people watching the same sort of route. One person hopped up on the bin, one person sat on the van itself, because it's actually an underrated heli. I don't see enough people using it. It doesn't explode, so you don't have to worry about that blowing up. But realistically, it's these two people's jobs, sorry, terrible grammar, to watch P2 and just focus frontwards. Obviously, you want to have ARs to keep the gunfights long, and then trophies at their feet. And then you have player number, is that player number 8? No, that's player number 6. Sorry, player number 8 down here. Player number 6, ideally, sub AR, doesn't really matter as long as they can do their job. They're sat in P3 and they're blocking spawns. Again, you've got that light blue ring around them that shows you that they're blocking these back spawns here. So him being here enables your blue team to constantly keep spawning in and spawn the red team out, but they can also watch the pinch here. If you play a good team on Rio, they will send a couple in the pinch, which is why I've dedicated 2 blue players here. But there's this little optional route. if players number 5 and 8 who are sat on the P4 think there's a lot of pressure, let's say they communicate that there's 3 or 4 players pushing through P2 from the enemy team, number 7 can leave this hold and then help out and watch front from where they need to. But realistically, their job is to go between the hill and help number 5 and number 6, sorry, depending on where the pressure is allocated. So number 7 needs to be maybe a submachine gunner, just because you're going to need to be a little bit more mobile. But they've got to be really responsive to what their teammates are saying. This is if I'm honest, it's a role a little bit harder to do as a solo player. I find a lot of the time, if you want to be successful solo queuing, the best thing to do is just be the blocker, because it gives you don't get the stats, you don't get the kills, you don't get the hill time, but you're doing a massive job of making the games far easier for your teammates, who are probably just going to keep running at the hill, to be honest. Then finally, we look at P5, which is just under the bridge, and we're going to stick with the blue team here. So you're going to notice a couple more colors here, which I'm going to get into shortly. So in this position, with these players where they are on blue team, the red team are actually going to spawn all the way back here, which is the furthest possible spawn away from this P5 hill. Now, the reason they're there is because number 5 and number 8, where my cursors are here, where you've got the green circles around their arrows, they are making this spawn happen. If these 2 players weren't here, the default spawn for red team would be here. And as you can see, that is far more closer to the hill than it is for the blue team to get to. So you need someone pushed out P1 or pushed through P1 to cause an enemy, the enemy to spawn. Let's just undo it so it's exactly where it should be. There we are. To cause an enemy to spawn back P2. But whilst they're there, number 5 can be on that nice little head glitch I talked about the other side of vending machine. They can watch this arrow, this sort of line of sight here. So if number 4 decides to flank through mid, number 5's got them just like so. And if number 2 decides to run through here, number 5's got that as well. And then finally, you have number 8. So with a lot of teams, 8's playing a really long off angle here. And the reason that's a useful off angle is because a lot of times number 2 will spawn here and decide that they want to just literally run at hill like so. And as a result, they're going to come to number 5 really easy. Or number 5, number 8, sorry, is going to have this LOS. So it's really the person, this is the person picking people off spawn, having the cuts. No matter which way they take, this player here is going to get the perspective of where they're going to be coming from. So this guy's going to be playing a vital role as well as spawning them out. Then, realistically, if number 8 and number 5 are doing their job properly, number 6 and number 7 can put their controllers down. Obviously, it's going to be a 2 versus 4, so they're probably going to fall or die or whatever. But just bear in mind, in order to get the red team to spawn far out here, number 5, you need to have someone around P1 in sort of any of these sort of positions. Moving upwards to play number 6, this person is sat on hill. They are sat on the head glitch that enables you to jump up to the bridge, but it's just the lower level of it. And if you lay down there, you've got a nice little LOS, a nice little head glitch to watch your front pretty much. And to help you watch in front from hill is also number 7, who's hopefully got a good long AR shot, because they're going to be sat back on this Jeep, on this RV, watching under bridge any players that leak through that number 5 and number 8 fail to get. Number 7 and number 6 should be able to pick them off. But again, you're noticing this light blue ring. Number 7 is also blocking the flip. So if players number 8 and number 5 push up to where they are and no one's blocking this blue spawn, the red team are going to flip. So it's vital to have someone alive in the setup back here to enable the red team to spawn far away. So I hope that made sense. If you have any questions on the particular setups, or you have any more ideas that you feel like you want to share with the community, feel free to drop a comment down below. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the series. If there's any other series ideas you guys have that you want me to sort of implement into my my uploads, let me know down in the comments, whether it's sort of S&D defense setups, bomb site checks, things like that. Just let me know. Ciao for now.